Woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth!
The breaking of the seventh seal releases the 7 trumpet judgments of God upon the face of the earth. For 2,000 years, the church has been offering up prayers as incense to God. Jesus taught us this prayer, and ever since then, these prayers have been rising up to the throne room of God. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
Revelation 8. And when he had opened the 7th seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour.
The 7 seals are broken, and the title deed to the earth has now been fully opened. The breaking of the 7th seal sets up the next chain of judgments to be poured out onto the earth. The 7 trumpets.
And I saw the 7 angels which stood before God, and to them were given 7 trumpets. And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer. And there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne.
With the breaking of the 7th seal, an archangel gathers these prayers, incense, and fire of the altar, places them in a censer, and hurls it to the earth.
And the 7 angels which had the 7 trumpets prepared themselves to sound. The first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth. And the 3rd part of trees was burnt up, and all green grass was burnt up.
The first trumpet judgment will show the world that science is powerless to protect the world from the wrath of God. The whole world is under a curse of sin. Through the judgments of God, this world will be cleansed from every curse that sin has brought against it. Disease, weeds, pests, all the things that go against the perfect world that God created will be wiped off the face of the earth through this redemption process. Romans 8:19 through 21. For all creation is waiting eagerly for that future day when God reveals who his children really are. Against its will, all creation was subjected to God's curse, but with eager hope, the creation looks forward to the day when it will join God's children in glorious freedom from death and decay. The 7 trumpet judgments and 7 bowl judgments will cleanse every portion of the earth, from the lowest depths to the highest point of the atmosphere. Every pest will be tracked down and killed. Every weed will be eradicated. What science has been trying to do with limited success, the agents of God will complete in 7 short years. The first trumpet judgment is very similar to the 7th Egyptian plague of Exodus 9:23 through 27. The first judgment begins with the first angel blowing the very first trumpet. The first angel sounded, and there was hail and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth. And a 3rd part of the trees were burned up, and all green grass was burned up. Hail and fire are complete opposites. So if you have hail and fire falling at the same time, it is a supernatural event. To try and explain this through some natural means will only bring confusion and speculation. Some people believe that it's describing hail and lightning, but John used the Greek word pur, which means fire, not lightning. At the same time, those who try to explain away the mingled blood as red rain, if this is what John was talking about, he would have used the Greek word puros, which means the color red, but he didn't. He used the word ha'ima, which means blood. We don't know exactly how these events will occur or unfold, but taking a literal interpretation of the text describes a tremendous act of God that will wipe out 1/3 of all trees on the planet and all green grass. And this is the first trumpet. There are still 6 more to go, plus the 7 bowl judgments.
And the second angel sounded, and as it were a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea. And the third part of the sea became blood. And the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died. And the third part of the ships were destroyed.
The second trumpet is very similar to the first Egyptian plague, where God told Moses and Aaron to strike the waters of the Nile with the staff, and the waters were turned into blood. In the case of the second trumpet, God strikes the waters of the ocean with a great burning mountain. Just like the Nile was the lifeline of Egypt, our shipping routes and trade routes feed the whole world. This judgment will wipe out 1/3 of all ships, 1/3 of all sea life, gone, destroyed in a moment. And 1/3 of the world's oceans will be made blood. This judgment doesn't just affect one nation, like the first Egyptian plague. This judgment will affect 1/3 of the whole world. The cause of this judgment will be a burning mountain being cast into the sea. What is this burning mountain? Is it a volcano that blows with such violence that the whole mountain flies through the air and is cast into the sea? We really don't know for sure. But what we do know is this will be a disaster that will be world-changing.
And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp. And it fell upon the third part of the rivers, and upon the fountains of waters. And the name of the star is called Wormwood. And the third part of the waters became wormwood. And many men died of the waters because they were made bitter.
The third trumpet judgment begins with the same word we've seen in a previous verse from the 6th seal. The word star is once again translated from the Greek word aster. We get our English word asteroid from this Greek word. So an asteroid will strike the Earth in some major landmass that will contaminate 1/3 of the world's drinking water. This asteroid is given a name. John said the asteroid is called Wormwood. The word wormwood translates from the Greek word absinthos. Absinthos is a plant that belongs to a genus Artemisia. This plant contains a dark green oil that is very bitter to the taste. In John's day, if you had intestinal worms, the only way to get rid of them was to extract this bitter oil from this plant and consume it. That's why it's called wormwood, because the asteroid that strikes the Earth's fresh water will contaminate the water with a bitter toxin that, when consumed over a long period of time, will cause death. So people will have the option. They can either not drink the water and survive for about 3 days before thirsting to death, or they can drink this bitter water, which over time will slowly kill them.
And the fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten, and the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars, so as the third part of them was darkened. And the day shone not for a third part of it, and the night likewise. And I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth, by reason of the other voices of the trumpet of the 3 angels, which are yet to sound.
In Matthew 24:22, Jesus gives us a hint as to this next trumpet judgment. He describes this event as an act of mercy by God on mankind. And except those days be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Now, does that mean there will be less than 7-year tribulation period? No, the tribulation will last for 7 years. But with the trumpet, the fourth trumpet judgment, Revelation tells us that a third part of the sun will be smitten, and a third part of the moon, and a third part of the stars, so as a third part of them were darkened, and the day shone not for a third part of it, and night likewise. So the length of time that the sun and moon and stars will shine will be cut by 1/3. Jesus tells us that if this did not happen, then no flesh would remain alive on earth. We have to realize that the climate of the earth will be so rocked by the judgments that are coming upon the earth that the sustainability of life will be greatly decreased. If the time that the sun is allowed to shine on the face of the earth is not cut by 1/3, then the earth's temperatures will become so great that nothing could survive. So this judgment will put the earth into great darkness. But this is an act of mercy by God on those who remain on the earth at this time. Though these judgments are partially designed to cleanse the earth, the main purpose of the judgments are for the people to repent and be converted to salvation through Jesus Christ. It will be the greatest call of God unto man's salvation ever delivered at any time in history.